The story of black doctors in Alabama forms part of a larger narrative in the struggle of African Americans to attain equality. My interest in the topic grew out of earlier research on doctors and the public health movement in France before World War I, specifically from my efforts to show the links between physical disorders and economic conditions. This theme appears often in the social history of medicine, from Jacques Léonard's study of health and hygiene in rural Normandy and Brittany during the 19th century to Edward H. Beardsley's analysis of medical care for black people and mill workers in Georgia and the Carolinas during the 20th century. In 1996, the French anthropologist Didier Fassin, a prolific investigator of poverty and sickness in France, Africa, and Latin America, argued that health reflects the distribution of wealth and power in a society, as seen in life expectancy rates, which then stood at 75 years for the 40 richest nations of the world and at 55 years for the 40 poorest. Black Americans have always fared worse than white Americans when it comes to enjoying the benefits of material progress and medical discovery. In his book, The Health and Physique of the Negro American, published in 1906, the black sociologist and civil rights leader W.E.B. Du Bois argued that high mortality rates among black people were rooted not in racial inferiority, but in the conditions of life, a fact illustrated by tuberculosis, which was 3 times higher among black people than among white people. Edwin T. Witt, a black physician from Alabama who spent his childhood in Birmingham's Woodlawn community during the Depression, recalled how the disease was the scourge of early adolescence in black neighborhoods, taking the lives of several of his friends and classmates. When he himself developed a dry cough and chest pain, his mother took him to see a black doctor in the neighborhood who did a tuberculin skin test. It was a 4+, meaning the germ had entered my body. Another case in point is infant mortality, the product of enteritis, pneumonia, whooping cough, and other childhood maladies, as well as lack of prenatal and postnatal care. In their exhaustive study of race, medicine, and health care in the United States, W. Michael Bird and Linda A. Clayton note that during the first 2 decades of the 20th century, the death rate for non-white children in the United States was 149.7 per 1,000 live births, as opposed to 92.8 for white births. Conditions were worse in the South, where in 1937, only 35% of black newborns had a doctor in attendance, as opposed to 90% for white people. While a general improvement in health and hygiene during the first 6 decades of the 20th century reduced infant death rates, by the mid-1960s, they still stood at 38.8 per 1,000 live births for non-white people, as opposed to 20.6 for white people. The post-Civil War history of African American healthcare in Alabama mirrors these patterns. For that reason, the lives of its black physicians, dentists, pharmacists, nurses, and midwives hold special significance, illuminating both the causes for healthcare disparities among African Americans and the reasons for their continued underrepresentation in the medical professions.